My name is Callista Gray. I am 30 years old, and I work in an office. I live in Seattle. I have always tried my very best to be a good daughter and a good person. Sometimes that meant giving up the things I wanted for myself. I always thought that family was the safest place in the world. A place where people love you no matter what, and where you feel protected. But last summer, something happened that completely changed the way I see my family. But before I continue, hit the subscribe button and tell me this. If it were you sitting at that table, what would you have done? Also, where are you watching this from, and what time of day is it? I want to know how far this story goes. It all started at what I thought would be a normal backyard barbecue at my parents' house. I went there with a happy heart. I thought it would be fun like so many other times before. The smell of the grilled food, the sound of laughter, and the warm sunlight made me smile as I walked into the backyard. I carried a light heart, thinking it would be a day full of smiles, jokes, and kindness. But then, something very hurtful happened. Right in the middle of the party, my dad picked up his beer bottle and shouted across the yard, so everyone could hear him. Here's to the one who is always broke, but still thinks she is important. I froze. My mom laughed and clinked her glass with his. Her eyes looked cold, like she was happy to see me embarrassed. Then she said, "To Callista, the dreamer who can never make her dreams come true." Those words hit me like a knife. They were not just words. They were meant to make me feel small and worthless in front of everyone. My brother smirked, and even my cousins exchanged awkward glances. The fun, cheerful atmosphere of the party turned heavy and cold. Every laugh around me felt like it was aimed at me, trying to hurt me. What nobody knew was that for many years, I had secretly been paying thousands of dollars to help my parents. I had been covering bills to help them maintain their fancy lifestyle. I never asked for anything in return, but not a single person said thank you. Not a word of appreciation. It was as if all the money I had spent and all the help I had given meant nothing to them. I stood up, still holding my chipped coffee mug. My heart was on fire with anger, but my voice stayed calm. I thought to myself, enough. I will stop paying for them. I set the mug down on the table. The clink of it sounded loud in the quiet yard. Without saying another word, I turned and walked away. They probably thought I was joking like I always did before. But this time I meant every word. Exactly 1 week later, the people my parents owed money to started calling and sending letters. My phone buzzed. It was my brother, Cashin. He wrote, "You can't just leave us, Barb." He said he was 34 and looking for a job, as if that somehow excused him from paying his own way. He begged me to keep paying their bills, saying it was only temporary to hold things together. I stared at my phone. My jaw tightened. I had been paying for their cars, furniture, vacations, and many other things for far too long. Not once had they said thank you. I typed back slowly, "Cashin, you're on your own now." No answer came. Later that same afternoon, my mom called. Her voice was trembling. "The people we owe are calling all the time," she said. She told me how they were threatening to take away their new SUV, the fancy furniture, or even the house if the bills were not paid. I stayed calm, though my pulse was racing. "You laughed at me last week," I said sharply. She tried to make me feel guilty by talking about family loyalty, about how daughters must care for their parents. But I knew I had to be strong. I hung up. Then Dad sent me an email. The subject line said, "Your disgrace." He accused me of ruining the family's good name because I refused to pay their bills. "We raised you better than this," he wrote, trying to make me feel ashamed and guilty. He wanted me to pay for everything again. His words stung, but I could see through them. I knew it was only manipulation. They had relied on my savings to fund their fancy lifestyle, and they didn't care at all how it affected me. I deleted the email without replying. I wasn't going to argue with him. The next morning, a letter came from a collection agency. It had a list of all the overdue bills. $45,000 for the new SUV, $12,000 for furniture, and more. The letter warned that they might take their car or house within 30 days if no payment was made. I could not believe it. How could their spending get so out of control? I logged into my bank account to check the truth. The numbers were shocking. Over the past 2 years, I had paid over $80,000 for their expenses. Fancy cars, expensive chairs, a second car, even a hot tub. Everything I had covered. Each transaction I looked at reminded me of how much I had given, and my chest tightened. Anger and hurt filled me. "No more," I whispered. "I am not their ATM anymore." That night, Cashin texted me again. "You are heartless," he said. "Mom is crying, Dad is furious, and it is all your fault." I felt a flicker of guilt, but quickly pushed it away. I knew he had never helped with the bills, never offered to take responsibility. I typed back slowly, "Cashin, you're not my responsibility." Then I turned off my phone. I sat on my couch thinking. For years I had been their safety net. I had thought helping them would keep our family together. Now I realized that I had been used. They had built their life on lies, and I had been tricked into paying for it. The creditors Mom mentioned were First National Credit and Pacific Loan Services. They had called during dinner, trying to scare her into making everything look normal. I almost laughed at the thought. Normal. Their normal life had only been possible because I had paid for it. Dad's email even mentioned neighbors who might hear about our financial problems, as if it was a public shame. But I saw it clearly. They were panicking because their pride was falling apart, and they wanted me to fix everything for them. The letter from the collection agency was the last straw. It showed every unpaid account, with interest growing daily. I had never seen the full picture before. There was $120,000 in total debt, including credit cards I didn't even know existed. My parents had opened secret accounts, expecting me to pay them without asking. I called my bank to confirm the transactions. The clerk sounded kind and confirmed the amounts. I thanked her and hung up. Cashin texted again that night. This time he attached a picture of Mom sitting at the kitchen table with her face in her hands. "Look what you've done," he wrote, trying to make me feel guilty. But I was no longer fooled. I knew their tricks. Cashin had let me pay everything, while he stayed silent. I typed back slowly, "Cashin, you are not my responsibility," and turned off my phone. I leaned back on my couch, feeling a strange mix of sadness and freedom. Their debts were not my problem anymore. They had lied to me, and I had helped them for too long. 3 days later, I met my cousin Amara at a small diner near downtown. She slid into the booth and spoke quietly. "Your parents took out huge loans, Callista. A Mercedes, fancy furniture, even a home theater system. Tens of thousands of dollars." I froze, holding my coffee halfway to my lips. I thought I knew how much they had spent, but I was wrong. I asked Amara for more details. She told me that my parents had bragged about their purchases to her. They had used my payments to cover the minimums on these loans without telling me. I had thought I was helping with small debts, but really, I was paying for their luxurious life. "Cashin knew," Amara whispered, glancing at the door. "He saw the bills but stayed quiet so they could keep using you." My stomach churned. My own brother had let me drain my savings, all while smirking at the barbecue that had hurt me so much. He had tricked me. The betrayal cut even deeper than Mom and Dad's mean words. I left the diner feeling dizzy, confused, and angry. My mind was racing, trying to understand everything that had happened. I walked back to my apartment slowly, feeling both tired and relieved. Tired because I had spent so many years paying for their mistakes, and relieved because I finally understood the truth. They were not going to change. They had used me for their comfort, and they had never appreciated what I did. Sitting in my apartment, I thought about the future. I knew they would try to make me feel guilty, call me names, and demand money. But I had made a choice. I was going to stand my ground. I would no longer let them control me or take advantage of my kindness. For the first time in many years, I felt free. Free from the lies, free from their demands, free from the guilt that wasn't mine to carry. I had learned a hard lesson, but I knew I was stronger for it. I wasn't just Callista, the broke dreamer, anymore. I was Callista, the woman who finally stood up for herself. At home, I sat at the kitchen table and looked through all my bank papers and emails. I wanted to understand everything they had done. I found papers that showed I had paid money to accounts I had never heard of. There were also loans they had taken without telling me. Every paper I looked at made me angrier because it proved they had used me and didn't care at all. I put all the papers carefully in a folder. My anger made me feel like I had to do something. This was not just about money anymore. It was about trust. They had broken my trust, and that hurt me deeply. That evening, I went to meet my boyfriend, Alaric, at my apartment. My hands shook as I told him everything. Amara had told me secrets, Cashin had helped them, and there were hidden loans that I didn't know about. Alaric listened quietly, holding my hands. "You are stronger than they think," he said gently. "You don't owe them your life." His words made me feel calmer. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I was not alone. We sat together and talked about what to do next. We needed a plan to protect me, stop their tricks, and take control of my life again. I felt a spark of hope I hadn't felt in weeks. I finally felt ready to fight back. Later that night, I called a friend for advice. She said I needed a lawyer. "You need someone smart and strong," she said. Then she gave me a name, Vesper Klein, a lawyer in Seattle who helps people with cases about cheating and money lies. I sent Vesper an email explaining everything about the loans, my payments, and how Cashin was involved. I didn't know what would happen next, but I knew I could not let them use me anymore. They had gone too far, and I was done being their pawn. 2 weeks later, something I could never forget happened. George and Ellen, my parents, came to my office yelling loudly. Their voices were scary, echoing through the office. "Callista, you are ruining us," Dad shouted, pointing his finger at me. "Pay these debts now, or we lose everything." Mom screamed too. "You owe us. We raised you." My coworkers turned to look at me. Their eyes were wide. I froze at my desk. Papers fell to the floor. Mom's anger got worse. She grabbed a printer nearby and threw it down hard. It broke into pieces, spilling ink all over the floor. Everyone gasped. One coworker dropped her coffee on her shoes because of the chaos. Ellen stopped for a second, but then she kicked the broken printer, making it even worse. I felt a fire of anger inside me. Dad came closer, his face full of hate. "You are a traitor to this family," he yelled so everyone could hear. "You abandoned us when we needed you." He wanted to make me feel small and bad, but I looked him in the eyes and said, "You made your choices. I am done cleaning up your mess." The office was very quiet. Everyone was staring. Security came with 2 guards in gray uniforms. "You need to leave," they said, taking Dad's arm. Mom screamed about family rights, but the guards took them out of the office. Her yelling faded down the hall. I stood still, feeling all the eyes on me. A coworker, Eloan, whispered quietly, "Is that your family?" Her voice sounded like she felt sorry for me, maybe a little judgment too. Other coworkers avoided looking at me. I had worked hard to build a good reputation, and now it felt ruined in just a few minutes. My hands shook as I left the office and drove to a cafe to meet Vesper Klein. Vesper was already there, sitting in a corner booth. She wore a smart suit and looked very calm. "Tell me everything," she said, pen ready over her notepad. I told her what happened. Mom smashing the printer, Dad yelling insults, and all the money lies I had discovered. They had used me for many years, and now they were trying to ruin my life. Vesper listened carefully, nodding. "We can sue them for harassment and fraud," she said. "You have proof." I slid my folder of papers across the table to her. She looked through them slowly, her eyes narrowing. "This is enough to start," she said. Vesper explained the plan. We would go to court to show how Mom and Dad caused trouble at work and cheated me with money. I agreed immediately. It felt like a heavy weight was lifted off my shoulders. For years, I had let their demands control me, but now I would not. Vesper promised to fight for me and protect me. "I'm in," I said, shaking her hand. She smiled and said she would start drafting the papers right away. Back at my apartment, I thought about the chaos at work. Mom's anger smashing the printer wasn't just anger, it was desperation. Dad calling me a traitor showed that they felt entitled, like my life belonged to them. The looks of my coworkers had hurt, but it also made me stronger. I was not the bad person they were. Vesper had said, "You are not just a victim. You are taking control." That truth gave me strength. All the papers, bank statements, and emails I had were not just papers. They were proof that they had betrayed me. Mom and Dad had gone too far, bringing their problems into my workplace and embarrassing me in front of people I worked with. But their actions also gave me power. The lawsuit was not just about punishment. It was about drawing a line they could not cross again. I thought about Eloan's comment and my coworkers staring at me. I pushed it out of my mind. Their opinions didn't matter. The truth mattered, and I had it. Vesper's support felt like a lifeline. I finally had a chance to take my life back from the chaos my family had caused. 1 month later, I sat in a courtroom in Seattle. Wooden benches creaked as I adjusted my posture, holding my folder full of evidence. Mom and Dad sat across from me, their faces tight with anger. Cashin slouched beside them, avoiding my eyes. The judge, a serious woman with silver hair, called the case, my lawsuit for money cheating and workplace trouble. My heart pounded, but I looked straight ahead, ready for the truth to be heard. Vesper Klein spoke clearly and confidently. She showed the bank statements proving I had paid $80,000 for hidden loans, a Mercedes, furniture, and a home theater, all without my permission. She played a security video from my office, showing Mom smashing the printer and Dad yelling at me. Vesper said that these actions proved deliberate harassment and cheating. The courtroom was completely silent. Everyone could see the evidence. I looked at my coworkers in the gallery. They looked shocked but also supportive. Cashin had to testify next. He looked nervous and uncomfortable. He admitted that he had opened one credit card to help Mom and Dad, but I didn't know about it. But there were actually 3 credit cards with $20,000 of charges that I had unknowingly paid. My chest hurts. Hearing it out loud made it feel even worse. The judge wrote notes carefully. Cashin's confession proved what I had already suspected, but hearing it made the betrayal feel even deeper. Finally, the judge gave her a ruling. She said Mom, Dad, and Cashin had cheated me and harassed me. They had to pay $50,000 in damages for fraud and $10,000 for workplace trouble. They also had to pay $5,000 each for their reckless behavior. Mom gasped, holding Dad's arm, but they were still angry, not sorry. Cashin looked down at his hands quietly. The penalties were large, but I didn't feel happy. I felt a hollow ache. Before the trial, Alaric had met me at a cafe near the courthouse. Stay focused on the facts, he advised. They will try to twist the story, but your truth is clear. His calm words helped me stay steady. He reminded me I was not alone. He suggested emphasizing the unauthorized credit cards, and Vesper did just that in court. Alaric's advice gave me confidence. I thanked him quietly and felt ready to face the trial. After leaving the courtroom, relief washed over me, but it was bittersweet. I had won, but my family was still angry and not sorry. Mom whispered something to Dad, her eyes cold. Cashin didn't look at me. They would never apologize, never admit they were wrong. I had won my freedom from their financial control, but losing them entirely left an empty space I wasn't ready for. A week later, I saw Cashin's post on social media. He wrote, "Callista destroyed our family's happiness, trying to make it look like I was selfish and had abandoned Mom and Dad. Even though it hurt to read, I knew the truth. I had fought for myself, and I had taken control of my life. For years, I let their lies and manipulation rule me, but now I had shown that I could stand up for myself. I had proven that I was not their pawn. I was strong, and I had my own life again." I thought about all the people who had seen what happened at my office that day. My coworkers, even if they had judged me at first, now knew the truth. They saw my courage. I thought about Vesper, who had guided me through the whole process. And I thought about Alaric, whose calm support reminded me I was not alone. Even though my family would never change, I felt something new inside me, hope. I could make decisions for myself. I could protect myself. I could live my life without fear. The papers, the proof, the lawsuit, it was all more than just winning money. It was about taking back my life and showing them that I could not be used anymore. I knew the road ahead would not be easy. My family would still be angry. Cashin might still say mean things online. But I had something they could never take away: my strength, my courage, and my freedom. He said I had turned my back on them and made the court's decision look like I had betrayed them. His words were mean and full of anger. They made me feel a fire inside my chest, a mix of hurt and anger. He had lied to cover up their money problems, and now he was trying to make me look bad in front of the whole family. He even posted about it in our family chat. Almost immediately, my phone started buzzing again and again. Each message felt like a small jab at my heart. I looked at the screen and read what people were writing. My aunts and uncles had joined in. "How could you do this to your parents?" one cousin asked. Another called me heartless. The words felt heavy. My chest hurts. My throat tightened. I could feel myself holding back tears. They didn't know about the $80,000 I had paid for Cashin's secret credit cards. They only saw the story Cashin had written to make me look bad. For years, I had quietly helped pay for their bills, thinking it was the right thing to do. But now, all anyone saw was Cashin's lies. I knew I couldn't stay silent anymore. I had to tell the truth. I opened the chat and started typing. My fingers flew across the keyboard. I told them how I had spent $80,000 to help pay my mom and dad's loans. I explained about all the expensive things I had paid for: furniture, a home theater, and other things. I told them I had done it without knowing everything that was going on behind my back. Then I wrote about the bad things they had done. I told them about Mom smashing a printer at my workplace, Dad saying mean words to me, and Cashin using credit cards in my name without asking. I explained that the court had decided I was right because they had taken advantage of me. I attached pictures of bank transfers and the judge's papers as proof. Then I pressed send. My heart was racing, but I felt strong. Soon my cousin Amara saw my message. She shared it with everyone and added her own words. She wrote about Mom and Dad hiding $120,000 in debt and spending money on fancy things while bragging about tricking me. Her words were strong and clear. Then she sent me a private message. "You're not alone, Barb. I've got your back." I felt a warm feeling inside, like someone had thrown me a lifeline. The family chat started to change. People began questioning Cashin. "You used her name for credit cards?" one wrote. "That's very low," said another. The chat became full of questions, and everyone wanted answers from Cashin. He tried to explain himself, but it was too late. Everyone could see the truth now. Later, he deleted his post, but screenshots were already everywhere. His plan to make me look bad had failed, and instead it showed his lies for everyone to see. That night, I got a message from my coworker, Eloan. "Saw your post. You're stronger than I thought. We're rooting for you." Her words were simple but made me feel really happy inside. At work, I had felt judged after Mom and Dad's angry outbursts, but Eloan's support made me feel proud of myself. I replied, "Thanks. That means a lot." I felt a spark of confidence I hadn't felt before. Cashin's post had been meant to hurt me, but it only made me stronger. For too long, I had let my family's stories control what everyone thought about me. I thought I owed them my money and my silence. But now the truth was out. Amara's support and Eloan's kind words reminded me I was not alone. The lies that used to weigh me down felt lighter. Speaking the truth gave me a clear feeling inside. 1 month later, I decided to invite Mom, Dad, and Cashin to a cafe in Seattle. I wanted one last chance to help them understand. I placed a folder on the table with guides on saving money, paying debts, and finding jobs for Cashin. "This can help you start over," I said, sliding the folder toward them. My voice was calm, but my hands shook a little. I was ready but nervous. Dad pushed the folder away angrily. "This is an insult," he shouted. People nearby looked at us. "You think we're too stupid to manage?" His words hurt, but I had heard worse before. I looked at him without fear. "It's not about being stupid," I said. "It's about taking responsibility for your actions." He scoffed and crossed his arms. Mom's eyes filled with tears. "We're your family, Callista," she said. "Don't tear us apart. We can still be together if you help us." I knew she was trying to make me feel guilty. She had done this before. "Family doesn't take advantage of each other," I said firmly. "You chose this path, not me." Cashin stayed quiet. He looked angry, his jaw tight, and his eyes burning. He didn't touch the folder or say a word. His silence said everything. He blamed me for everything, but he didn't feel sorry for using my name on credit cards or for lying about me online. I stood up and pushed my chair back. "I'm done," I said. "I've given you my money, my trust, and my help. This is my last offer. If you won't take it, I'm walking away for good." Mom gasped and reached for me, but I stepped back. Dad muttered something under his breath. Cashin's eyes stayed fixed on the table. I grabbed my bag and left the cafe. The door chimed behind me. The cool Seattle air felt amazing. I felt free. That evening, I got an email from Vesper Klein, my lawyer. She said the court had approved freezing Mom and Dad's belongings until they paid $60,000 in damages. They had not followed the court's rules, which helped my case even more. I read her email twice and felt quietly happy. The legal fight was not finished, but I knew I was on the right path. Sitting on my couch, I thought about the cafe meeting. I had hoped they would say sorry or take responsibility. Instead, Dad yelled, Mom cried, and Cashin stayed angry. I realized they would never understand me. For years, I had carried their problems, thinking it would keep us close. Now I know the truth. Family does not mean giving up your own life. Walking away was hard, but it was necessary. Vesper's email reminded me I was making a future free from their problems. 6 months later, I was in my new apartment. The Seattle skyline sparkled through my window. I had a promotion at work, and my desk was full of papers and projects showing I had built a life for myself. I felt free. No more spending my money to pay Mom and Dad's debts. My life was mine. I had worked hard for it. Amara sent me a message about Mom and Dad. Their house was taken by the bank, and they had to move to a small rental apartment. The court fined them $10,000 more because they had not followed the rules. They even sold their Mercedes to pay legal fees, but they still refused to do the right thing. I read the message without feeling sorry. They had made their choices. Cashin was not doing well either. Amara said he was moving from job to job. He never stayed at any job for more than a month. He had declared bankruptcy after his credit card problems. The anger he had shown at the cafe didn't make him better. It only trapped him in his own problems. I felt a little sad, but it passed quickly. He had made his own choices. The family chat had gone quiet. My aunts and uncles, who had judged me so quickly, stopped messaging after seeing the truth. I didn't miss them. I had spent years trying to make them like me, but now their opinions did not matter. My world was smaller but stronger. People like Amara and Aloan cared about me for who I was, not for what I could give them. That morning, Vesper Klein sent an email. "The case is closed," she wrote. "Your family did not appeal the court's decision. The court has enforced the $60,000 payment, and your case is now finished." I felt a deep sense of relief. The fight was over. I had won. I sent her a short thank you email, grateful for all her help. Looking back, I learned something very important. Boundaries are not just lines you draw. They are walls you build to protect yourself. I had given my family money, trust, and chances. But they never valued me the way I deserved. Walking away was not selfish. It was necessary to survive and be happy. For the first time in years, I felt light and free. I could enjoy my life without fear or worry about mom, dad, or Cashin. I had learned that loving someone does not mean letting them hurt you. I could love myself and care for myself first. I had built a life that was mine, full of work, friends who cared about me, and a home that I had earned. Now I could look at my future with hope. I had money, stability, and confidence. I knew that if anyone tried to hurt me again, I could stand up for myself. I had learned that speaking the truth and standing up for myself was stronger than keeping quiet and letting people lie. I smiled as I looked at the Seattle skyline. My life was mine. I had survived lies, anger, and unfairness. I had worked hard, stayed honest, and protected myself. Now I could finally be happy. I had learned the hard way that family does not always mean love. Sometimes family means lessons. Sometimes family means learning when to walk away. And I had learned it. I was free.